Hey, I hate to break it to you, but your coach probably lied to you. What's up? I'm professional shooting coach Colin Castell, and there are 4 things that can instantly increase your shooting percentage that your coach is probably teaching you wrong. Now, part of the problem is shooting, instruction's been around for decades, and a lot of coaches coach what they were taught, right? So if you learned how to shoot in 1970 and you're coaching in 1980 or 1990, you're gonna coach the same way. And then those people that are coaching in 1990 are gonna coach the same way in 2000, 2010, etc. And it keeps kind of going. Now, luckily, we've had some advancements, thanks to me and some other coaches that are out there. But basically, there are 4 things that coaches are still teaching all the time across the world that I see nonstop that are absolutely killing your jump shot. So the very first one is eliminating a dip, right? We've always kind of heard coaches say, hey, when you shoot, you shouldn't dip the ball down. You shouldn't bring it down. You got to keep it up here by your chest or by your shoulder. And the general reason why they say this is because it's faster. You're going to get off more shots. Well, hate to break it to you, number 1, it's not faster, right? The whole kind of key if you're shooting with a dip is you want to dip it quick. If you dip it quick, it's the exact same speed really, because your body still has to fire and it all is the same momentum chain other than that, right? We've done side-by-side comparisons and literally they're the exact same, if not sometimes the dip being faster, right? Number 2, the dip gives you so much more momentum and power and stability in a jump shot, right? So as I dip, it gets everything in a line, and then as I bring it back up, it can come up that power chain all, synchronized and together. Think about it like swinging a golf club. You start down here by the ball, you bring it back, you swing it through, right? That's how you get that nice fluid motion of power, right? Imagine trying to hit a golf ball if we just started with the club up here and then tried to hit it and we came through. It'd be really hard to keep it straight. It'd be really hard to essentially generate that power. So it's the exact same thing in shooting. When we catch the ball, we can dip it down to our waist. Heck, some of the best shooters in the world, Ray Allen dipped it all the way down to his thigh. But as long as you do it quick, it doesn't matter. And you're gonna knock down more shots. Now, hey, let's say a coach says, hey, I know for an absolute fact that it's faster to not dip. That's fine. Guess what? Maybe you don't shoot that shot if a player's closing out that fast. Maybe that's a time you drive, right? So really, there's no argument that makes sense for not dipping to me. A lot of times we'll see videos go viral on like Instagram and stuff where it's like, oh my gosh, this NBA player caught it right here and look how quick the release was when he didn't bring it down. That was one shot. Go ahead and watch all the other film of them and they're probably dipping on like 80 to 90% of their shots, right? So do what works best. Don't do what, essentially you were taught or essentially, was kind of fed to you at a young age, right? So really think about, hey, if you add a dip to your shot, for most players, the vast majority, it's gonna work a lot better. The next lie you've probably heard is having a high set point. This is one that actually ruined my jump shot for like 3 years of my development growing up, because I had a coach that said, hey, for you to be able to shoot at the next level, you're gonna need to bring the ball up here, keep it by your forehead, and that's how you're gonna have to shoot, right? But we're starting to find with more data, more training, more athletes that are, the best shooters in the world that are coming to the NBA, a high set point doesn't really matter. Because essentially, it's great if you're 6'6" and you're in the NBA and that's the shot you got to get off. But look at guys like Steph Curry. His set point's down here by his eyebrow. Look at guys like Damian Lillard. His set point's down here by his eyebrow. And they're playing at the most elite level of the most elite league. And at the same time, they're doing it better than anybody else, right? Look at a guy like Trae Young. His set point is even lower. It's down here kind of more by his like nose-ish area. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that the best shooters in the world are doing something different than what you're probably being taught? It doesn't make sense. It'd be like watching Michelangelo paint and being like, oh, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm not gonna try to do what the best painter does, right? And so think about it like this. If you're younger, if you're a 3rd grader, 4th grader, 5th grader, even all the way up through high school, it's gonna be borderline impossible to shoot up here by your forehead or above your forehead. And because of it, if you try, you're gonna get flat arc. It's gonna turn into a 2-motion shot. You're gonna lose power. You're not gonna be able to shoot threes. And because of that, you're gonna be pegged as a non-shooter, and then your basketball career is gonna fizzle out. That's how it goes. It's a chain reaction. I see it all the time. So think about this. When it comes to your actual set point, there's nothing wrong with having it down by your chin when you're lower. There's nothing wrong with moving it slightly up by your lips when you get a little older. There's nothing wrong with moving it slightly up by your nose as you get a little bit older. Generally speaking, your jump shot will change and adjust as time goes on. Now, it's not gonna matter. You're not gonna get your shot blocked because you're gonna work on shot preparation. You're gonna work on being quick with the ball, right? You're gonna work on your ball skills to go along with it. So it's not even gonna matter. Does Trae Young get his jump shot blocked all the time? No, He doesn't, and there's a reason for it, right? Because it doesn't actually matter that much in the grand scheme of things. So find a set point that's comfortable for you, that gets results, and that's the one you're gonna wanna stick with. All right, the next trap that you gotta look out for that a coach will probably tell you is your feet position. If you watch the best shooters in the world, most all of them shoot with a tilt, meaning that instead of being squared towards the basket like this, 10 toes facing the rim, they shift them slightly off to the side, and then that way, they have a little bit of a tilt. The reason why this is so important is it generates a ton of power, because if you're facing the basket with 10 toes to the rim and I raise my arm up, I feel a ton of tension in my shoulder and in my upper body right here, because that's how we're built as human beings, the way our muscles work, the way our skeleton works. It's really difficult, right? If I tilt my feet slightly, all of a sudden, a ton of that tension goes away, and essentially I can finish in a much straighter direction much easier and get a ton more power. So here's the problem. A lot of times if you're shooting with 10 toes towards the rim and you go and you feel this tension, your body has to alleviate it somehow. And these are some of the same problems that coaches are trying to fix all the time. The first way your body tries to alleviate it is a chicken wing. If I pop my elbow out, all of a sudden it's not as tense and I get to the release. But now it's not in alignment and I'm gonna miss more shots, right? The other thing that we see a lot of people do is they start bringing the ball up the off side of their body like this, right? And the problem with this is, again, we're not aligned. So because we're like, hey, we have to be square to the basket, we're sacrificing alignment, which is one of the most important things when it comes to shooting, right? So essentially, think about tilting your feet slightly. It doesn't have to be a big tilt, and everybody's gonna be different. Here's the key. You're built differently from I'm built. I'm built differently from cameraman Jake's built. Essentially, what we gotta do is we gotta find what's best for us. Some people need a bigger tilt. Some people need just a tiny tilt. So play around with what comfortably feels best for you and then adjust to match. And I promise you, you're gonna knock down a lot more shots long term. All right, the next lie that's probably been told to you is this myth of the palm gap. And I've even heard some of the best shooters in the world talk about you gotta have a palm gap, you gotta do this. And it's basically the idea that when you shoot, the ball needs to be off of your palm and there's gotta be space in here, right? In theory, I guess it makes sense. There's a lot of people that said, hey, there's more snap and rotation. When I first started coaching, I actually taught a palm gap too, because why? It was the same thing that was taught to me by somebody who didn't know what they were talking about, right? And so if you look at the best shooters in the world, again, I keep going back to the same thing with this stuff because it's so simple, but for some reason people don't get it. Most of the best shooters don't have much of a palm gap. Steph Curry doesn't have much of a palm gap. Damian Lillard doesn't have much of a palm gap. Now again, I'll see coaches on social media try to force feed narratives and video to fit what they teach, right? So you'll see somebody post a video with like Clay and they're like, oh, look at Clay's beautiful palm gap, as the ball's right here and it's getting ready to release off of his hand, right? Further down in the video, oh, what do you know? There's not very much of a gap. But because it fits their narrative, all of a sudden we're gonna post it on social media. So really think about this. The palm gap's one of those things where in the order of importance is so far down the line, most of the time it's not even worth talking about, right? And especially if you're a younger athlete, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade or something like that, you're probably not gonna have giant hands to where you're even gonna be able to have a palm gap, right? Think about if I had tiny hands, if I have any sort of palm gap, all of a sudden I'm gonna have like very little control of the basketball when it comes time to actually shoot. So don't worry about a palm gap. It is totally fine to sit on your palm. And even more so, some players like Damian Lillard, he doesn't even have his back fingers fully on the ball to control. Now, I don't necessarily, say that you should do this, but essentially it just goes to show that the palm gap is so unimportant that Damian Lillard, who just won the NBA three-point contest, essentially cannot even control the ball with the backs of his fingers, have it rest completely on his palm, and he's still one of the best shooters in the world. So don't worry about a palm gap. It's kind of one of these fake things that coaches try to, talk about to just, tweak something on your jump shot for the sake of tweaking. So don't fall for the trap. Don't forget, if you want to shoot like a pro, you got to train like a pro. So go ahead and hit the link in the description down below. You can get free instant access to the Pro Class Pro shooting pack. This is a shooting workout that's put together by some of the best athletes on the planet, guys like Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, CJ McCollum, just to name a few. And it's going to help turbocharge your jumper immediately. So go ahead and pick that up because it's 100% free. All right, you know what to do. If this video helped you out, hit the like button. If you're new to ShotMechanics, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell notification. We put out videos every single week and they're all going to get you better. I guarantee it. All right, again, I'm Coach Colin Castello from ShotMechanics Basketball. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, splash on. Buckets! Hey-oh!
You